a little nervous. I'd rather wrestle than talk. But it would just be wrong for me to go any further without thanking my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. That's how I made it here, and that's how I'm going to make it there. And I'm glad that I can say that publicly to everybody today. Don failed to say he's also an NCAA All-American from Wisconsin Whitewater. He's no joke. He's a wrestler. He's a great friend. He was in my wedding. I was in his. And I love him like a brother. I'd like to congratulate all the fellow inductees. We really are fortunate people. We came from a great place that instilled some things in us that we could take out into the world, and we could show other people, and in some cases show the kids and the people that we come in contact with, and it makes me feel so privileged when I go out and I talk to people and I deal with kids on a daily basis that I can show them and talk to them and emulate the things that Ed Ewald taught me. One of the things I always couldn't believe about Mr. Ewald was the fact that, you know, he's an old guy. And he's got that silly haircut. But every time I go to a wrestling match, that guy's there, that guy's promoting it, and people love him. And I'd like to be like that someday. But I lost all the hair on top, so it's not flat. I would like to introduce my family. Tanya Sears is my wife of 20 plus years. If you knew me in high school, you wouldn't ever think that I'd be saying that. Tanya's birthday was yesterday. Tanya didn't worry about it being her birthday. We drove to Chicago, Wheaton, and we came to a Hall of Fame game where Wheaton Central, Wheaton Warrenville South won, and it was a great night for me, and I really appreciate you coming with me, hon, and making the time on your birthday to come with me. My daughter, Kiera, is also with me today. Kiera is a sophomore in high school. She is the pride and joy of our house, her and her sister, and it's easy to be the devoted father when you have such wonderful kids to deal with, and I love her from the bottom of my heart. My oldest daughter, Matea, couldn't be here today. She is she has a ceremony to go into her sorority at college. She goes to Murray State. So I wish she could be here, and she may be watching it on the internet, I don't know. But either way, I love my family, and it's easy to be a person that cares about their family when they're so great, and you all know that. I won't go into a lot of detail about my early childhood development, because there wasn't much there. I wasn't a great kid. I wasn't a great son. I wasn't a great kid in the neighborhood. You can ask the Bullwags. I just wasn't a good guy. My dad went to school at Oklahoma State University, and he was friends with a man named Myron Roderick, who was a wrestling coach there, a wrestler and an AD, and eventually ran the Wrestling Hall of Fame. And my dad looked at me and he thought, that boy's got to wrestle because I don't know what else he's going to do. So he got me into wrestling, and lo and behold, the first guy I run into that night was Mr. Ewald. You know, I always thought as a kid the coach is supposed to smile and joke around. Well, that's not Ed's forte. He didn't deal with a lot of my garbage as a young kid. He didn't deal with a lot of my garbage as an older kid. And I'd like to publicly thank him for that. It was that guidance that helped me get through. My mother and father are unable to be here, my dad, because he's passed away. But I can tell you this. When I went through graduation at school, which was an iffy thing, my father should have been right with me getting a diploma, because he spent almost as much time at Wheaton Central as I did, bailing me out of trouble. And he was a wonderful man, and I hope that I can glorify his name as a father, because what he did for me is, you know, I can never repay that back. And I know he's in this room. I know that. So I'd like to thank him. I'd also like to thank my teachers. You know, like I said, I wasn't a great student. I wasn't really even a great kid. I could wrestle. I was blessed with a lot of athletic ability. I could throw people around. You know, that's what I did. It wasn't until later that I got to rely on the things that I learned. There was people in my corner, like Ed Ewald, John Fuller, John Thorne, Ron Muhitch, Mr. Peterson, Mary Scheide, and Phil Kale, and others that I'm not saying their names. I'm sorry for, but I know you want to get home. It's been a long day. But those people instilled in me things that I carried on into my life. And I guess in a roundabout way, I am who I am because of those people, because now I'm a school teacher. I'm a wrestling coach. I'm a football coach. Not currently, but I've done a long time football coach stint at most schools that I've been at. And I do that because of the influence that those people had in my life. I'm so proud to be able to come back and tell people. If you ask Mr. Alured, when he knew me in junior high, this is like a book that no one should have ever written, probably. I wasn't who I turned out, and it's because of people like him and the other people around that did that. There were other people that helped me out. There were people that made me a good wrestler. Dave Tomac is a person that made me a good wrestler. Dave Tomac is a future Hall of Famer, because I know we can nominate. I ought to have some weight. I'm a Hall of Famer, right? But Dave Tomac's sister's already in the Hall of Fame. But Dave is an all-stater in 2 sports, I believe, soccer and wrestling. I was telling Mr. Deitch today, you know, I hated wrestling Dave Tomac in high school because it was like wrestling a grizzly bear. You know, Dave went on, wrestled at Northwestern University, and I haven't told Dave this until this day, but I'll tell him now. I thank the Lord I never had to wrestle Dave. He was like the big brother. If I had to wrestle Dave, I would have cried, I would have got beaten, I would have went looking for Mom to tell her what he did to me. Dave was somebody that was just a heavy-handed joker that I didn't want to wrestle. But you know what? He was also an intellect. He went to Northwestern. He gave me an example of what it was like to be an athlete. A real athlete. Not just on the field of play, but in the game of life. And I appreciate that. I talked to him earlier this week, and there was a couple times I was talking to him, I could have cried. I'm an emotional guy. And we talked, and we said things heart to heart, and he told me some things that just made me feel good. He's always made me feel good about myself. There were other people in my life that were athletes that I tried to emulate. Doug Kreider, Carl Schindler, Carl Maurer, Jeff Jones, Jim Jones, some of the older people that were there before me. They taught me lessons like never quit, persistence, and if you work hard, you'll get what comes to you. Now, a lot of guys saw me work and figured, that can't be true. Well, some way or another, I worked hard. It might have been hard at getting out of work, but it was hard work. They were life lessons that you use. Life now, I try to pass it on to the kids that I come in contact with. I talk to kids. Last year, like Wheaton Warrenville South, I had 3 state place winners that went through my program. We went to the IHSA state tournament. There was a 2nd place finisher, a 3rd place finisher, and a 5th place finisher. If you know anything about wrestling, you understand that it's very hard to do. Wheaton Warrenville South did the same thing because they have a great coach, a great program, and a great tradition. Started by a great man. Lastly, a couple things. I'd like to thank my friends who are here today. Jim Winters, Steve and Sandy Beach, who I love like family. Angelo Tsoulis, a guy that I thought was dead for 38 years. Somebody told me he died in a Jeep rollover accident in Greece. All of a sudden I'm on Facebook one day, and he comes up and says, my name is Angelo Tsoulis. Then I went to the Hinsdale Central tournament because I bring my kids north to get a good little look at the northern talent, because that's who you run into at the state tournament. A guy walked into the coach's room and says, my name is Angelo Tsoulis. Down Sears here. I thought he was going to kill me, so I said, yeah, it's not. But it's nice to have him here today. Finally, I'd just like to say thank you to the committee and Mike Healy for having such a wonderful event. I really cherish this. It's something that's special to me in my heart. If nothing else comes from today, know that you made my day. Know that you gave me a chance to tell the people that have made my life and shaped who I am today. Thank you very much for what I've done, or what they've done for me, and allowed me to do, I should say. I'm so proud that I went to the Wheaton Central High School.